Hey, IG family. It's your girl, Y Renee here. How are you all this evening? It is 7 o'clock on the dot again. I want to thank those who are tuning in or will be coming on live in a moment. Those people who are watching the replay. It is awesome to have you all here. So thank you all for joining me. I'm really excited. So let's get into this conversation. Yesterday we were talking. I told you, if you don't know who I am, my name is Y Renee. I'm a trauma recovery coach. I have several opportunities of trauma that have happened in my life, and now I've decided to help people recover like I recovered. So that's basically me in a nutshell. Please go back and watch yesterday's live video to get a little bit more about me, and I'll probably talk about myself and my situation throughout the month of August. So this month of August, I made a promise to myself to be more visible, to talk about different things in traumatic. So this month, for the month of August, I picked divorce. And throughout the month, I will have guests coming on. I just didn't have anybody so far for this week. If you're interested in talking about divorce with me live on IG, please hit me in my DM and I will be more than happy to bring you on. I'm so excited about this conversation because I've had juicy conversations behind the scenes. So I'm really excited about things that are being said, things that are happening. So little shameless plug before we get started. Anybody in the Chicagoland area, I have a wonderful event coming up. I started a tour in May of this year called Level Up, and we had an awesome time in Houston. This Saturday, August 7th, we will be here in the Chicagoland area. We're at the Doubletree in Oak Brook. And if you all want further information, please, by all means, hit me in my DM. If not, go to the flyer that is listed on my IG page, and it will have the ticket information and everything that you need to know. It is from 8 to 4 p.m. I have some awesome coaches and influencers that will be on the stage giving you good nuggets about how to level up in life. Any aspect of your life you need to level up in, that's what we'll be talking about. So let's get back to this conversation. Yesterday was an introduction to me talking about traumatic instances and triggers of divorce. So I gave a little introduction about why I was doing it this live. So we're going to dive a little deeper today. For those of you who are married and still married, praise God, because you don't have to worry about the traumas and triggers of divorce. For those of you who have divorced, hopefully something I will say will help you want to get past being stuck if you're stuck. If not, you can resonate with some things I'm saying just to start a good conversation with some girlfriends, some guy friends, or just group conversations. One of the things I want to talk about sometime this month, I'm not sure I'll pick a date yet, is divorce and pertaining to the church and how churches handle it, or churches that I was involved in handled divorce. So let's just get into it. So divorce itself, I've got a couple definitions. The basic definition is a legal dissolving of a marriage by a legal court or other competent ways. So when you think about, you go in front of a courthouse or a priest, you get a license, a priest or a pastor, you get a license, you have this conversation, you get I do, you have a conversation to say I do. Now you're married, you sign a legal document, you take it to the courthouse, and now the court system, they recognize you as being married. Lot easier to get married than it is to get divorced. Because when you talk about divorce, another definition of it says, and I'll read it from Wikipedia. It says, usually entails the canceling or reorganizing of the legal duties and responsibilities of a marriage, thus dissolving the bond of matrimony between people. At one point in time, this probably said man and wife because it was not recognized for same-sex marriages. But now that we talk about same-sex marriages, you have the legalization of a partner. And I've come to find out too that just like heterosexual marriages dissolve through divorce, same-sex marriages are doing the same. So we and divorce laws, basically they vary around the world, but we're going to just talk about what I know about Illinois and what happened. And we're going to talk about me right now. And like I said, anybody else who may want to join, who want to talk about divorce, we can talk about that. So one of the things I found out too, and what I'll get into today is we'll talk about stages. So for me, let me give you a little history about myself if you do not know. I mentioned it yesterday, but I was married for 10 years on paper. My ex-husband put me out of our home 4 days before my 9th wedding anniversary. And it took me 1 year, 2 months and 8 days to officially divorce because of control, because of or wanting control, manipulation, things like that. I'll tell anybody, part of my testimony is we had absolutely nothing. I actually offered to give up everything. My home, I just wanted to keep my cars. I wanted my maiden name back and be able to hold on to my own pension. But my ex-husband at the time, in his feelings, just wanted to be controlling like he was throughout the marriage. Whatever else may have been going through his head at the time, decided to drag this out as long as he possibly could. Cost me a whole lot of money because we could have been divorced in 90 days and it probably would have cost us nothing but court fees. But I had to have a restraining order and some other things involved because I am also a 15-year domestic abuse survivor. And when you have those instances, which I'll talk about another day, you have to get attorneys to talk for you and to bargain for you. So that's a whole nother thing, and that's costing money, which is a trigger and a part of the trauma of the journey for me. Okay, so again, I'm not going to be before you long. It's going to be quick. Well, not quick, but detailed enough to where we can have a conversation. So let's just talk about the 5 stages of divorce today. So when you're going through a divorce or growing through a divorce, and when I say growing, as painful as it is, as difficult as it may be, hello there. Thank you for joining me, everybody. As difficult as it may be, you do learn lessons. If you pay attention, you will learn lessons throughout the process of divorce, okay? So I learned a lot. Now, maybe one day we'll sit down on days like today where I don't have anybody with me, where we could talk about lessons that I learned for myself that I've shared with other people to help them get through the process of divorce, to make it easier for them, whereas it was difficult for me. So let's say the first thing you have to do is have a cognitive or a mental separation. What happens? It breaks down for whatever reason. One party's not happy, the other party's not happy, both parties not happy at the same time. But something's going on in this marriage where it breaks down. There are several reasons why divorce can happen. It could be infidelity, which is one of the major ones that people just feel like there's no bouncing back from. It could be financial reasons. One person is not good with money, or they're both not good with money, and it causes them to go into a place of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say poor status, but just financial challenges, to whereas it causes a rift in the marriage and they don't know how to fix it. Lack of communication could be a reason for divorce. Like most people put on their divorce decrees, irreconcilable differences. You just have differences that you refuse to try to get help for, or you've gotten help and you feel like the help isn't helping enough. So when you decide to finally split and the divorce, that's the first thing happens. So it becomes mental first. Becomes mental. Whether you all are not getting along, not talking, hopefully not physically fighting, but that's one reason. That was one of my main reasons. And you have to make the decision to say, okay, this marriage is no longer valid. We can't do it, so we're going to just be done with it. So you have to make the cognitive or the mental separation. So what happens is somewhere throughout your mindset, you're not in love anymore. You don't want to work it out. You're not putting forth any effort. You don't want to go to counseling. No matter what your spouse does to try to make the situation better, if you're mentally checked out and there's no hope for it, 9 times out of 10, it's very difficult will I say that it's impossible? Nothing is impossible. Is it very difficult to bounce back from? Most definitely. So that's the first stage. It's a mental separation where you don't want to be bothered anymore in the marriage. Physical separation. Physical separation is part of the court process. Most states, you have to be separated at least 6 months before a divorce can be final. And what that means is, unless you waive it, hello there. Is that Kim? Hey, Kimmy. Most people, unless you waive the separation process, like if you both agree that you don't want to wait out the 6-month process, or you can prove that you've been separated longer than 6 months, or you guys can talk about it, the judge may waive that that time of separation and speed up the divorce process for you. However, if not, if you tell the judge you separated just yesterday, you filed for divorce today, they're going to tell you have to be separated at least 6 months before you can proceed. So during that time, you need to get all your stuff in order, your ducks in a row, dot every I, cross every T, and everything that you need to do to make sure that you have your stuff in order. And hopefully, which most times it's not, you all can come to an amicable decision about how to split property. If you have kids, if you have houses, if you have land, if you have finances, things of that nature, you all hopefully will be able to come to a happy medium. If not, then that's when most people involve that of a mediator, which is a lot less expensive than an actual attorney. Two things we'll probably talk about at a later date. Because again, all this stuff in finances, it also can trigger you and make you feel some kind of way afterwards or even during the process. I know for me, it did. Legal dissolution. Basically what happens is with a legal dissolution is before you actually officially divorced, sometimes counseling needs to say sometimes the judge will, for lack of better words, force you to go to a mediator or some type of counselor to see if you all can rectify the situations and bounce back from it. Once they come back from it and they give their judge their legal, documented opinion of whether or not this marriage is salvageable or if it needs to be dissolved, that's what happens. So legal dissolution is when you go to court, and like I said, I'll read right here where it says a legal dissolution is a socioeconomic and cultural separation. As a lawyer or therapist, it is that one apparent that unresolved emotional conflicts fuel adversarial posturing. The legal divorce can be a long, drawn-out battle in which couples stay connected through anger by breaking agreements and violating court orders. By taking either astringent or ever-changing positions, reflecting their inner conflict and inability to separate. They try to hold on at the same time letting go. And that's what I was telling you before. As far as my situation is concerned, my ex-husband was trying to hold on for whatever reason. I'm not sure what the reason was other than, like I said, control and manipulation, because my story is so intense that other than control, I don't understand why someone who was being abusive, belittling, disrespectful, treated me like crap some days, nice ways the other days, but then had several relationships outside of our marriage too. Why do you even want to be married? You're somebody who needs to be single by yourself, or either focusing with someone who will accept the stuff that you do. So that's the thing but going through the divorce process where, like I said, I wanted absolutely nothing. We could have been divorced within 3 months, because usually, during COVID, it might have been a little bit different, but way before COVID, because I've been divorced now 11 years, you could be divorced in as less as, when you're dealing with the actual person, like 90 days. And that's only because when you go file, you got to get the person a chance to respond. Once they respond, you have to come with the paperwork to show that you broken it down. So you got to go to court. You got to file a court date for that day. You come back before the judge, you throw them this, that, and the other, and tell them that you actually want to divorce or whatever have you. And then generally the next court date is, if everything is agreed upon and you all have no issues, they'll put the gavel down. That was not my case. I went to court at least once a month for it to continue to be continued for no apparent reason. So, as I said before, if you all have listened to my lives or pay attention to my page, I am a woman of great faith. Divorce was also very traumatic for me because of the spiritual connection, and I felt like I was breaking covenant and disappointing God. So with that being said, one of the 5 steps is also spiritual connection. And I don't care what anybody says. Whenever you go in front of a judge has a Bible. They base some things upon "In God We Trust" and all those other things. So there is some type of spiritual connection. There is some type of covenant that is made, of course, whether you do it in a church or whether you do it in a courthouse. or whether you do it in your backyard, your living room, wherever have you. So for me, I believe that spiritual connection is a very pivotal or very important part, of the whole marriage and also divorce process. So when you make a covenant with someone, you become spiritually connected. You make God a part of your relationship. And when you are dissolving this, you also have to break, or there's a breaking of the spiritual connection as well. So that's something that we could probably go deeper in on another day as well. Emotional divorce, which would be the last one. I don't care what anybody says. This is me being very transparent. As much as I wanted my marriage to end, well, let me just be honest or transparent further. I did want my marriage to work. Regardless of the abuse, I would be lying if I didn't say I wanted my ex-husband to change. I wanted him to change for the better. I wanted him to understand what marriage was about, what he had in me. I'm not perfect. I am flawed. I'm human, and so is he. But I wanted him to appreciate me more and not be as abusive, not be abusive at all, and to actually handle the situation and be married to me while we kept God first. That was not the case. So with that being said, when I got sick and tired of being sick and tired and I didn't want to be there anymore, I began to forgive myself for staying in as long. Forgive myself for what I thought I was betraying or coming against my covenant with God and breaking my covenant with God. I had a lot of emotional ties. I was emotionally damaged. I didn't know my up from my down. I was an emotional wreck, to say the least. And actually, when it was officially over, like when I felt like it was over, I mean, I went through a plethora of emotions. I went through anger, of course, because this was being drawn out longer than it had to be. But even though I had a sense of relief when the gavel hit and I was able to get my maiden name back and this marriage was dissolved, I also grieved my relationship. Because truth be told, and unless somebody tells me differently, unless you go in just saying, well, if we get divorced, then you're already planning your marriage to fail. But nobody really goes into a marriage with the intention of divorcing. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that we waste our time, your partner's time, or anybody who is connected to your relationship when it comes to that, wasting anybody's time to be a witness, wasting anybody's time to be counselors to you, if you have in your mindset that you're already going to be divorced. So you might as well not even do it. I didn't go into my marriage no matter how many red flags I saw, how many times my friends kept asking me if I was really sure that I wanted to do this, etc., etc., etc. I never thought about how bad the emotional disconnection would be if it happened, because I went in with the intention of staying married. My parents, until my mom passed away, were married for 50 years. Around me, any adult that I grew up under, if I grew up in your house, my godparents, my aunts, my uncles, people like that, I didn't have a model of divorce. I had a model of marriage. 50 years, 30 years, 20-something years. And those are the people that I surrounded myself. Those are the people that modeled after me. So when I decided, bad, good, and different, that I was going to get married, then I decided that I was in this for the long haul and I was going to do whatever I could to make it work. I believe, as much as I knew how to do, I did the best I could with what I had. Again, not perfect, flawed, would take responsibility for everything on my part that I could control that I didn't do correctly, that had nothing to do with control, abuse, or things of that nature. But everything that I could not do correctly because I was young and learning, I take responsibility for that, because it's my commission to be the best wife that I can be, or do the best that I can by watching the models or what I see of the people that were around me. And of course, everything that happens behind closed doors I'm not going to see, but everybody who was in front of me that was modeling marriage to me, they modeled it well. And I wanted my marriage to be like theirs. But behind closed doors, I could put on in front, and a lot of people did not know I was having trouble in my marriage. Everybody thought everything was wonderful, that I was a good person to my ex-husband, and they thought he was good to me, when in truth, hey, Miss Claire, and everybody else who's joined, I'm sorry, that he was good to me and things like that, but it wasn't the case. So now we're at a stage where it hurts. It's like a death when when you have to finally emotionally divorce the individual that you have been married to, that you said I do to, that you promised to be better with, better, worse, sickness, health, rich, poor, all that stuff that the vows have stated for years. Even the ones who decide to alter their vows because they don't want to be responsible for those things, but it all comes in the package of marriage. So with that being said, that was like the hardest thing for me. And even though I was at the end relieved, happy to be single again, or a divorcee, and we'll get into those terms at another date, but at the same time I had to mourn a relationship. It was just like a death. A part of me was like falling off, and I had to deal with that for a while. It was very traumatic for me. Again, not having to deal with not having to deal with the actual abuse part of my marriage, but just the whole relationship part. Because again, I tell people all the time when I'm speaking publicly that I don't know anybody who sees somebody abusing somebody and walk up to them and say, hey, you know what? I think you abuse me a whole lot better than you abuse that person. Could you please be with me and not them? So when you meet the PR person, when you meet the person that you meet, you get the best of, or what you think may be the best of them, because they're trying to prove something to you. So for me, with my ex-husband, he was very charismatic. He was very charming, wasn't bad on the eyes, but he also happened to be manipulative. So when I seen the good side, it wasn't until later on the bad side came out, and by that time I was already smitten. Whole nother story for a whole nother day. But so it was very difficult after falling in love, or believing that I was in love, devoting myself to this person, and then after 9 years, just decide that we can't do this anymore. It's not healthy. It was not feasible. So for me personally, I did some research, because everybody used irreconcilable differences. We didn't have differences that were irreconcilable. My marriage was broken, and I just didn't believe that it could be fixed. So when I did my research, one of the titles that I could use was Irretrievable Breakdown of a Marriage. It was broken, and I just really felt, because my ex-husband refused to do counseling. He thought I was the crazy one. He said, if you want to go to counseling, you go to counseling. I'm not going with you. So this was not going to be a joint effort. So my marriage was broken. And because he wouldn't seek help, he didn't want no help, we couldn't retrieve it to get it back together. So that's the title that I use. That's how my divorce papers are filed. And it was deep, y'all. It was real deep. So again, it's 7:22. I don't want to keep you all long. I thank you all, those who have joined me, those who will watch this replay. I really appreciate you all. If you all have any questions, again, feel free to inbox me. I'll be more than happy to answer questions. If you're on here and you want to be interviewed by me, I do have a few dates left where I can bring you on and we could talk about your divorce, if you want to talk about it, if you want to talk about the things that triggered you, or if you just have some questions. I might just do a Q&A session one night where I'll just bring people on, and if they have questions, they can. So again, thank you all for your time. This is your girl, Y Renee, trauma recovery coach. Please forgive me. And I look forward to talking with you all probably again tomorrow evening. And if not, please share this with your friends. As always, you know the whole saying, like, comment, share, so other people can get this message as well. I think this is a topic that is very good, and I think that I, along with your help, which means you're helping as well, can help people have a better understanding and help them get over their trauma, and the triggers that come from them going through divorce, or even facing divorce, or even coming on this side of divorce. Because I've talked to a few married people or remarried people, and they realized after having some conversations with me that they didn't realize there were some things that still triggered them, even though they found love again and decided to remarry. So again, with that being said, for the second time, I feel like a pastor closing out. This is Y Renee, and you all have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to talking to you all soon. Thanks. Good night.